Okay, we can begin, I believe. Hello, everyone. I will be moderating this session and the following session with Can Karadan Hoca. In this session, we will be receiving Dr. Ozan Sarier's presentation. He will share his insight on his topic for about 30 minutes. Then there will be, afterwards, there will be a question and answer session. It will approximately take for 15 minutes. So we can begin now.
Hello everyone, it's Ozan here. So today's topic is called Multicam Video Production Techniques for Live Performed Music. Before we start, let's make a quick introduction. So in the context of this topic, what I do, I teach at Center for Advanced Studies in Music, MIAM in short, and Turkish Music Conservatoire at Istanbul Technical University. I am also a sound engineer who mostly deals with acoustic music nowadays, whether it be recording, mixing, mastering, restoration. I also do videography for music. And in this presentation, I will share my insights regarding videography for music with you. So today's topic intends to help sound engineers working with video production teams working with sound engineers, performers working with separate teams of sound engineers and video producers. So you might have to direct your teams towards your interests, and also performers and sound engineers who want to do video production with moderately low budgets, even with moderately low budgets. Today, I'll describe a typical audio and video recording session that aims to create a final production depicting a pseudo-live, edited music performance. After we cover the workflow of a recording session, we will look at the editing and synchronization process of both audio and video. So, editing and synchronization. The most dominant topic of today will be editing and synchronization of audio and video, as this becomes the bottleneck for most low, mid, and even high budget productions. People keep struggling with synchronization of audio and video, even more so when the audio is heavily edited, and in live recordings, this can be true. So you might ask, why pseudo-live? In this webinar, we will talk about videos where the final performance is composed from multiple takes. So we will not be talking about live streaming or direct recording of performances like a concert recording, as they are pretty straightforward editing-wise. Let's correct that, not editing-wise, synchronization-wise. So you'll have one block of audio and one block of video. You just slap them together and it will be done. So still, some of the synchronization topics that we will cover here also apply to these scenarios. As our final product will be composed from several different takes, I am using the term pseudo-live, since we are aiming to create a video where the performance will look like it was performed in one take. Again, hence the term pseudo-live. So, what is hard with editing? So we have lots of sound engineers amongst us. The editing that we are using in this context is not just audio editing, but editing the whole video together as a whole. And the problem starts with different habits of, how to say that, brother and sister professions, videography and sound recording. So sound engineers record, edit, and mix in software we commonly refer to DAWs. These software DAWs lack the video capabilities of a video production software such as Adobe Premiere, Blackmagic, DaVinci Resolve, etc. So you can display video. To some extent, you can cut and edit video, but they are nowhere a complete video editor. On the other hand, video editors that video people use, such as Adobe Premiere, Blackmagic Design, DaVinci Resolve, these software allow audio editing, but it's to an extent. So as a sound engineer, I don't feel comfortable mixing a live recording or any recording or edits any type of audio in a video production software. So you can't even see the waveforms properly in the timeline. So it's a torture for sound engineers to do any kind of meaningful work audio wise in a video editing software. This begins to improve, but all in all, there's another aspect that they might be able to edit audio, but can you depend a video editing software to record also? So the AWs are also able to record audio. Video editing software also is able to record audio, but to properly record audio, let's say, without dropouts, with marking support, and with all of the necessities that a recording session have. So all in all, sound engineers prefer the AWs for all audio work related to recording and editing in this context. So here we are seeing a screenshot of Pro Tools, and we can see that we have a beautiful marker that says this is the Bach Prelude 16, it's the take 1, and we have lots of other location markers that will be useful regarding the audio edits in the following stage. So another source of the problem is that we don't have a metronome or click track most of the time in live performed music. So acoustic and live music is almost always performed without a metronome. When an audio of a take is used, the video of another take of the same passage will not sync because we don't have the same timing. There are slight performance differences, create drifts over time, and most of the time it's not possible to sync two different takes of audio and video together. Therefore, the correct footage must be synced with the correct audio. So here's a view from a DAW. We are looking at, I guess this was Bach Partita 1, and we have a modest number of edits, and we have 27 parts over 20 minutes. Here is the same file printed out, mastered and printed out, and here we see it as a single entity, and we don't know where the edits are, and we don't know where the edits come from, which take. So this poses a problem for the video editor. Video editor has to know which take is where, and which take is taken from, which part is taken from which take. As audio is edited first and in a separate software, supplying just an audio master is not sufficient for the video editor to work on, and the video editor must know where the audio is edited and the source of the takes to work efficiently. So with lots of time, I'm sure someone can stitch together a okay video, but without knowing which take is from where, it becomes a nightmare. So there are established ways to doing that, such as syncing together the video and audio systems. But in high budget productions, this is only possible because you need additional gear such as timecode generators, timecode synchronization between the audio recording system and the video recording system. And still, you are just tying audio clips to a global time. You have to export this as information for the video production software to read. And you can export your edit decisions as lists, as we can see here. But this is really cumbersome. And there are better ways to work around this, as we will be discussing shortly. So today I will describe a better and easier workflow. This is a really simple workflow, but I haven't seen it being employed by many others, so I'm trying to spread the word. and whoever listens to me starts using this workflow and they have less migraines. So another question that you might be asking is why multicam? So the necessity of multiple shooting angles come from the need to edit in our context, as if you edit a single viewing angle, the image will jump at your edit point, because almost never your performer will be facing the same way, will have the same body posture, so you'll have continuity errors. Also, if you are shooting in if you are depending on sunlight, or sunlight enters your room in any way, and you are passing time, the lighting will change, and this will also cause visual continuity errors. With multiple shooting angles, you can hide your edit in a way. So when you have an audio edit, you can complement it with an video edit, and it will hide itself. These type of body posture errors will look less prominent. So before we continue, let's talk about some recording scenarios. First of all, live concert with extra takes. So in a context like that, we record both audio and video simultaneously. So the whole concert is recorded. While the concert is being performed, we usually, as sound engineers, keep track of the score, notate down any passages that needs to be repeated. This can be from performance problems, noise problems in the hall, or videography errors if you are also communicating with the video director. After the main live performance is finished, we take a break. And after our break and audience leaves the hall, we also do additional takes depending on the notes we take or upon the performer's requests. This way, we might be able to cover passages that were not clear in the live performance. So, in a context like that, we have some fixed cameras with operators, sometimes even without operators, just cameras on tripods recording on their own. Even those are fine. So, recording without audience, like a studio recording. I can't say studio recording because we are not always in a studio, but this is like a studio recording. You have the whole hall for yourself or any place, and you might just record and pause and continue your coverage as you like. In this scenario, we again have our cameras on tripods because we don't want anybody walking around. They can be either fixed cameras, or we might have operators that are controlling the cameras. By the way, when I say camera, you don't have to imagine something fancy. These might just as well be cell phones for a low budget video production. As the technology progresses, even cell phones are nowadays impressing us. So, video production with a moving camera operator. In live setting, for example, a live performance, it's not desirable to have somebody walking around with a camera in a set. And if you want artistic shots, you want the camera operator to come close to the performers. This means coming onto the stage, and we don't necessarily need that. And we almost always hate somebody walking around in a concert, making noise, and coming onto the stage is not an option on many occasions. Also, when you have fixed cameras and somebody walking, that somebody walking will be blocking some of the camera angles, and this might be crucial to create the perfect take that you want. So if you want a moving camera operator, in my productions, I do it with playback. So another problem with a moving camera operator is it's a hard job and you don't always have correct footage. For example, in the left side, we see a focusing error. Many cinematography cameras have manual lenses and you need a focus puller to properly focus your footage. As the distance between the subject and the camera changes, you need to constantly adjust the focus. So you might have focusing errors. And also, in a moving camera operator, you are trying to get exciting shots to fancy up your footage most of the time. So you might do some pan movements, etc. And all in all, the camera is not always recording useful information. So in my experience, only 30% of what the moving camera operator sees is usable most of the time. Also, we can have point of interest errors. The camera operator needs to, in small productions, when you don't have a remote focus puller, both frame the shot, move the camera, move steadily, and also control the focus. And it's not possible to hand him a score and say him to follow the oboes, go to the oboes when they have the solo, etc. So they might be shooting something entirely out of topic of the music. So the camera operator also needs to focus on to what's important in the music. So all in all, these aspects makes 70% of the moving camera shots unusable. In order to combat that, in my video productions, I do the following. First, we do the first takes, we do the coverage with all the fixed cameras, and we make sure that we have all the parts of the music that we need. Then we quickly edit according to our notes and finish the editing. Then we play back this edited take to the performer and ask him and her to perform over this playback. You can have performance errors. You cannot always match the time, but as we talked earlier, the moving camera operator also makes mistakes. So we'll be using bits and pieces from that footage, and we can also repeat that playback once, twice, thrice, etc. many times. So it doesn't pose a big problem to go out of sync with the playback. So for moving shots, we employ the playback method. So my solution to the editing dilemma is partial exports. As well as a master audio, I bounce or export is our terminology here, every individual edit with a naming convention. For example, here we can see that we have the works name, works part number, and we also notate from which take the part comes from. Sample file names are Bach Prelude Master, Bach Prelude, part 1 from take 2, part 2 from take 4, part 2 from take, this is again part 2, part 3 from take 6, etc. With these, what you can do is, in your video editor, you can lay out your master track, like seen here. Then you can bring out all the individual parts and stitch them together. Then, even with this, your video editor knows where the edits are. And he can look up the file names or a file list and figure out from which video take this audio comes from. After that, the usual video work is being done like this. For example, here we have 3 camera footages with their accompanying 3 scratch audio. Cameras also record audio, albeit being poor, but still this can be used to time align these videos together. And nowadays it's an always automatic system. You just select 2 footages and ask your software to sync them. Most of the time it catches the audio and syncs them together. After this process, we bin these videos together, so they become as a group and move together, so they will be time aligned. Afterwards, we carry bits from our partial exports. For example, this bit here, we move it under the relevant footage from take 1, time align it with the rest of the stuff, then we cut from the trim the video from the size of the audio, and we then carry this block over to somewhere else, and we will then be able to match correct footage with correct audio takes. With this workflow, it's really fast to find relevant video footage, and you don't need edit decision lists, time codes, and finding those time codes in a convoluted video project. After the synchronization, you have your camera selection, post-processing, rendering, etc., everything related to the video production. So we have some time left, so let's look at some actual footage and look at the workflow itself. For example, in this performance, we have many cameras, as you can see here. Actually, we have 3 cameras, and we had 2 recording sessions on top of each other. At first, we have 3 fixed cameras. Let's see what those are. First, we have the main camera. Then we have a close-up fixed camera. Then we have another camera that's focused on the right hand for this piano performance. Then we have a moving camera. And along with that moving camera, we have 2 more fixed cameras. While the moving camera operates, we operate the remaining 2 cameras in a fixed manner. So when edited together and selected from these takes, we have a result like this. If we were to just look at the moving camera, you'll see that we have lots of unusable footage. But from the ones that we can use, we can stitch together a acceptable outcome. So let's talk about the workflow itself. So we have our 3 cameras synced on top of each other. They are perfectly time aligned and they sit together. And let's find the relevant audio for that. First, we have our master take. Then we need to bring relevant parts from our bin. Let's not do it as a whole. Let's do just the start of it. First, we have our first take. And let's see, it's part one from take two. So these cameras here, sorry, where was I? This is the first take, and we need the second take. Let's do the second take quickly and also show you how to synchronize different cameras. So we have two camera footages. You can sort of see that they are not time aligned from the waveforms. We select them and ask the software to synchronize them. And boom, now they are time aligned. So one is not 4K. Let's fix that. Okay, we have two cameras synced together. Now we know that this part one is from take two and this is take two. Move it over here. Now select a scratch audio of a camera and our audio. And again ask the software to synchronize. Now it's found its place. So let's try it with another take two. For example, from our
Ozan hocam, you
sound
have 3
collection.
minutes remaining.
Okay, we are nearly finished for the demonstration phase. So part 24 from take two. So we have just a tiny bit of audio here. Let's see if the software can find where it's from. So because it's just a small fragment, it couldn't find where it's set. You'll have to manually find it. Since we will be doing it from part one to the remaining parts, it is easy to hand match it also. After we sync our part one with the footage from take two, we just trim it, take everything, and start our compilation. Now we will have to do the part two, and part two is from take one. So where was our audio? This is our part two, and let's move it to our take one. And let's again ask the software to synchronize it. It couldn't, and we will have to manually do it. But it's not a big deal. We'll just listen. Maybe with another camera, it might be able to synchronize it automatically. I can't be this lucky. It should be around somewhere here, or we can just listen. Okay, we found it manually. Now we have to zoom in and create a perfect alignment. Since we are working with video, we don't have to be sample accurate because we have only 25 frames in this example. We can trim it, select everything, go to our position, then let's see if we have something usable. As you can see, we were able to find the second take that is relevant to the recorded audio. Let's check the synchronization. And once again, let's look at the same camera continuing, and we can see the gap that I'm talking about, why we need 2 or more angles to hide and edit. Just here. The body posture changed between performances, and now it's an obvious edit here at this point. We are running out of time. We'll have some time for questioning, but before that, I want to talk about one thing more. You might want to record unedited videos for auditions, etc. With this workflow with multiple cameras, you can just record the whole take 2, and for example, for this very talented young pianist here, we have unedited takes 2 for her audition needs. So same workflow, we just use only one take from her best takes, and this is submitted to competitions or any academic needs that she needs. So you don't have to edit. You can have unedited performances too if you ever need so. So this was my presentation for today. To summarize the workflow, you just have to print your master along with your edits. So just look at the DAW to see how it's done. So in a usual scenario, you just bounce your whole master. But in this scenario, we bounce our whole master, then we go one by one to our individual takes, and we have noted it down. This is part 1 from take 2. We go to bounce and we say that Bach partita part 1 from take 2, and bounce it like that. After this, we move on to the second part, third part, fourth part, etc., and print out every individual part. That way, we will be able to communicate with video editors. And when you are the video editor, you are doing yourself a favor. So we have 10 minutes left for questions and answers. John, would you kindly help me with the questions?
Yes, of course. We may proceed to the question and answer session. You might just raise your hand or any type of way. Just okay. Peter and Robert, hocam, you are trying to ask questions, I think. Maybe
Yes.
You should start, then Robert will proceed.
Okay. Hey, Ozan. Great presentation. Enjoyed it.
Hi, Peter.
So I'm assuming that when you're creating your sort of regions for the EDL, that actually won't be used for the production audio, right? That's just going to be indicating the edit points.
Yeah, they are just edit points.
Okay.
You have to figure out edit points somehow, and because most video production software working frames, actually, when you stitch them together or just dizmek them together, they leave gaps and nasty clicks, so they will be discarded later. Then you will lay your master audio under them.
Right.
It will be time aligned. Sometimes because of that problem, you have to adjust it one frame or two. Or another workaround, that is slicing your master audio by referencing them to the slices, then using your master audio inside Premiere. That's another workaround. That
I mean, I've worked in a similar way, but I always actually specified the start and the end times, down to the frame, and that was a real pain in the butt. And your technique is going to save quite a bit of time, I think.
Nice to hear that.
That's a really great way of working. So thanks.
You know me well. I am the tembel, so
no, we prefer efficiency, right?
The better. So efficiency is better.
Yes,
so.
Exactly. All right, thanks, Ozan.
My pleasure.
Yeah, so I thought Robert was going to ask a question, but he was just clapping, so that's a mistake on my behalf. So is there any other question? I'm trying to check for.
Sorry, if I can follow up on that. When you've got really short edits, I mean, that's going to seem like a really weird jump cuts on the visuals. So how do you handle that?
So one way to handle that is by thinking in the video stage. So, for example, you should face only close up of other things, so you can hide them. And some small edits go unnoticed, because if you're not looking for errors, just a second of unsynchronization goes unnoticed. Also, our reference time frame is like 25th of a second, so video is not that accurate, and you have motion blur, etc. And sometimes after you complete the video work and complete all the edits, you can have requests from your client that says, oh, there's a file in my right hand, can you please fix that? And you have to source it somewhere else that you don't have a video footage of. That way I use time stretching to move the note there without changing the time of the already perfected audio. So for example, in that list of audio files, you can see that the master take is version 2. So we did something afterwards, but doing that in the audio editor software, I time stretch some things to fit perfectly without shifting anything before or after.
Is there a minimum time that you'd prefer to have for? I mean, I have no special experience in video editing, so what would be the smallest edit that you would feel comfortable actually using? Or syncing to, yani?
It depends. So sometimes they become so small that you can use something else to cover it up. Sometimes big edits don't match because of dramatic changes in posture, etc. And you have no coverage of. But I prefer it to be less edits, the better the music. So
there you go.
I always warn my client that this is not a audio only recording, and we won't be slicing it up like 10 million micro edits. So it is possible, but we will not be doing that. That is what I say. Also, it kills the music,
For sure.
Well, so
I mean, I agonize over this with Fazil for all of our albums, and we've now actually gotten to the point where after we record everything, he'll do video only takes, and limit to 1 or 2 edits, after the piece is really already recorded in his hands, and we can just focus on the visuals. But I realize that's not a luxury most artists have.
Yeah, and editing is like time is a time saver. When you are paying for the whole, you are paying for the crew. So the less time you spend, it's cheaper actually. So most people edit not because they can't play, because it's cheaper in the whole run.
Of course.
Also, it's less stressful when you can correct mistakes later, you play better in the
There you
first
go.
place. So in this way, you don't have to do video only takes. You can employ playback.
Yeah.
You can do the playback 4 times, for example, and cover playback synchronization drifts that way. So you'll have usable footage. And when you couple it with face shots, etc., where you don't show the hands, it becomes easy. And in an orchestral setting, for example, it's easier. You just focus on somebody else. So that's a time saver too. And when you zoom out of a whole orchestra, synchronization issues become less apparent in the video.
And for this using Juliel Marsha that we just finished, I mean, we did a weird mixture of real footage and playback for the chorus, because I had the chorus behind the conductor for that. And I don't know, I mean, he has some good editors, I guess. We can handle that.
Congratulations on that, by the way.
Oh, thanks. Let's hope it does some good next month.
We all. So, any other questions? So, if you don't have any other questions, maybe I can do some encouragement. Go out, shoot video. World is becoming increasingly more visual. So, in order to survive as musicians, we have to go out of our caves and show our faces. And shooting video is one way to do that. Whether you're a performer, sound engineer, I won't say videographer. As a videographer, you have to shoot videos, but it's not expensive nowadays. Your cell phones are video monsters if you have good lighting. And take the cell phone count to 2, then you have a production setup. So don't let equipment stop you from shooting video. And even the most basic laptops nowadays can edit video. And for example, DaVinci Resolve is a video editor that you can freely use. The studio version is free and very, very capable software. You can do editing, sound editing, coloring, rendering, nearly all of the stages of a video production, and it's completely free. And please use that, document yourselves. You can't believe what footage can be used years later for publishing. For example, this year we released a 12 DVD of Idil Biret's performances. Some of the videos are ancient, to speak kindly. So we did some restorations, but they were recorded amateurly. But after 60 years, you go back and think that these are historic performances. The video quality doesn't matter. Even the videos we shoot today will not be acceptable in 10 years, but they will have historic value. And it's important to document your concerts and performances. So take it as a public service announcement. Document your work. That's what I would like to say on top of this presentation. So we have 1 minute left. Any last words or questions?
What cameras do you use besides cell phones?
I
Sorry, I
don't use
jumped in.
cell phones. These are Sony A7S series mirrorless cameras that I use with an assortment of lenses and gimbals, lights, etc.
Don't they have recording time limits? I mean, you can only record 25 minutes or something of that, or
You can hack them. There's a software called, you can legally hack them, so it's not hacking, but it's the, what was it called? Magic Lantern is for Canon, and for Sony it was called something else. Play Memories something. I can write it to you, but you can just Google that. You can easily take that limit off, and they shoot continuously for 2-3 hours without overheating. So
that's great.
They are great in that sense. And you can have dummy batteries that simulate the internal battery. And for example, now I'm using a Sony A7 as my webcam. And I also used it as my webcam for online lessons in the COVID season. Once I left my camera turned on for 27 days straight, and it didn't hiccup. So to give you an idea.
Thanks, Ozan.
So I would like to thank Medinea Network and John for directing this session, and all of you for joining me. Thank you for your time. I hope that I was able to give you an insight on video production, and hope to see your videos online.